Am I muted? Can you tell? All right. Am I muted? I'm on now? I don't know. Let me know. Wait a minute. I don't know if the mute's on or off now. Wait till we try and get this right. Are we still? We're speaking now. Good. It was muted there. Okay. How you doing? Who's in the room? Ken Wood. How you doing, Ken? Westover 1314. God bless you. Roger Madison. Hello, sir. Ewan Eggstrom. God bless you, brother. Mitch Cameron and Sherry. How are you? Andrew McBride. Hello there, shipmate. It's my pal, old Andrew. Good to see you. Roland Santos. God bless you, brother. Nice to see you there. Who else is in? Yep, they're all doing well. Everybody's in. Okay, right. We shall proceed and see what we've got. We've got an interesting show today. Now, it's incredible because obviously we never shirk from controversy. As you well know, controversy is our middle name. But occasionally, even with our own people, we start a hornet's nest and people get very upset. Tom Hedenfeder, how you doing, Tom? Nice to see you in as well. So we're going to stir up everybody today. Now, remember, we stir people up, our people up, especially over the whole Trump war, blah, blah, blah. We can criticize. If you can't criticize people, I'll give you an example. I was speaking to one of the brothers yesterday in America. He was doing his nut over a report we sent out with Tucker Carlson and criticizing Rubio. This guy was going mad, saying we're traitors and that. No, we criticize them internally. We don't criticize publicly. We don't criticize Donald Trump and the administration publicly because we helped get him elected. Do you remember? And in 2016, he wouldn't have got elected unless it'd been for the Templars. And that is not my opinion. That's the opinion of analysts working for the New York Times who analysed social media output across the world. And our depots then, our priories in Budapest, Belgrade, and here, we're pumping out that much anti-Hillary stuff and pro-Trump stuff. They said we put 2 points on the result. He won by 2 points. So that's where we're coming from. We support Trump. We support everything that the administration does in general. But occasionally we have to criticise, but we don't criticise to the world. We criticise internally. And if you can't do that, well, you're living under a dictatorship. And I tried to explain to this gentleman. He didn't get it. He didn't get it at all. And it suddenly, with the conversation, it suddenly dawned on me that there has to be a wee bit of remedial stuff done here. But before we get into that, let's have a wee bit of scripture, if you don't mind. Wait a minute. Always the best way to start anything. So, we're going to be reading from chapter 20, and it's very apt for today's report. Chapter 20 and verse 3. Hear ye the Lord. It is an honour for a man to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling. Amen. And we know the Lord will add his blessing to this, the public reading of his infallible, inspired, and inerrant word. And the people of God said, Amen. And amen indeed. So that's a good way to start the show. But it suddenly dawned on me. I spoke to 3 people yesterday who were on complaining, and you've got every right to complain. That's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for, to punch me in the face if you don't like what we're saying. That's good. But it dawned on me when I spoke to 3 people that nobody really understood Iran. Nobody understood the history of Iran. Nobody understood what was going on. And one guy actually said to me, well, before 1979, they weren't Muslim. They've been Muslim since the 7th century. They were Shia at first, and then they became Sunnis in the 12th century. But this guy, and he's this is an educated man, ex-forces, an older guy in the 60s. And I said, oh, really? I thought it was just when the Ayatollah came in, they all went mad Muslim. I said, no. And I said, but what about these people? Why don't you support them? Why don't we kill them all? Because, look at the trouble they've caused in Europe, the bombings and the shootings and the deaths and the misery in Europe. When did this happen? Did I miss it? As far as I know, Iranian terrorists or even their proxies have never put a bomb off in the UK. Never. That you're thinking of the Al-Qaeda and ISIS and Al-Shabaab and these people, they're Sunnis, they're a completely different thing. And he says, what does that matter? Well, it's like blaming here in Northern Ireland, it's like blaming Protestants for the stuff the IRA was doing. It's completely insane, completely mad. So I thought, this guy, he's an ex-soldier. He's a mature man. He's an educated man. He's not stupid. And he doesn't even understand the basics. Doesn't understand the basics. And all through the years, we've had the only problem we've had with Iran. We've not really had many problems. But I know the Americans had problems with them. You had the hostage crisis in 1979. I remember that. I'm old enough to remember that. Terrible. With the revolution. And you had the Marines bombing in Beirut. Now, we should look at these things because in 1979, there was a revolution to depose the Shah, who was a king. And many Americans are outraged with that. Well, I'm surprised because most Americans are Republicans. They don't like kings. And this was a despotic king. So there was the same repression under the Shah there is under the Ayatollah, but a different way. There's, the more religious thing you got to cover up and all that. But the repression was there under the Shah. Now, how did the Shah get there? Because in the 1950s, I think it was 1957, Britain, mainly Britain, hands up, it was mainly Britain, but with American help, deposed a democratically elected leader who was nationalizing the oil industry, so the oil revenue went to Iran and went to his people. Well, the British didn't like that. So with us, the MI6 and the CIA, we started a coup and we deposed a democratically elected leader and installed a Shah, a king, who was very repressive, and it wasn't a democracy at all. And he, to this day, holds the record for having the world's most expensive party. He held a week-long party, invited all the heads, all the royalty of the whole world, any royalty in the whole world, and all the big bosses and all the big people to a big party outside Tehran in the ancient capital. And it cost hundreds of millions of pounds back in 1971. If you ever Google it, you'll see it, the Shah's party, 1971. It's incredible. Thousands and thousands of people dressed up as ancient, what did they used to call that? Persians. It was unbelievable, but that was the people's money being spent. So we installed that guy. And then the people said, no, this guy's a despot and he's stealing all the money. We get rid of him. That's what the 1979 rebellion was about. Why people don't understand that, I don't know, but we're told lies by the mainstream media. But it was certainly Britain mainly, and America, that led to the kicking out of that democratically elected proud nationalist leader, and putting in a puppet, the Shah. And he obviously allowed us, Britain and America, to take all the oil and give the Iranians very little. So that's why the revolution happened in 1979. Now, I remember the hostage crisis, terrible stuff. And I remember the bombing in Beirut in 1981, something like that. And again, that didn't happen in a vacuum. And I said to this chap, did the Iranians go and bomb the Marines at Fort Bragg? No, where were they? Where were the Marines? They were in Lebanon. They were in somebody else's country. And what happened? What precipitated that? The CIA took out the leader of the Shias. That's like, to the Roman Catholics, that would be like the Pope. That would be like the Pope. Or to British people, that would be like our Queen. They took them out, executed them, bombed them from the air, killed the guy, assassinated him, a political assassination. So the Shias, who this guy was their Pope, their leader, they weren't very happy about it. And that's where the bomb in the Marine barracks came. Very painful, I know that. You don't need to tell me. Shocking stuff. But there's a story to everything. Iran has never come into Britain and started on us. They've never went to America and started on you guys. So where are we? And I think we need to start looking, where did this come from? Where has all this came from? So there's a couple of good things I want to show you. There's a couple of good wee clips, if I can find them. Where is this? Yeah. So here's a wee backstory of who the Shah of Iran is. And it's incredible to hear Western people saying, let's get the Shah back. The Shah was not good. He was like a despotic 18th century European noble. He was not good. And everybody was like serfs, slaves, you know. It wasn't good. But anyway, in case you don't know, here's a wee short clip of what that Shah guy and what happened roughly in a very potted verse, very short film. Have a wee look at this, folks.
In 1953, Iran held democratic elections, and Mohammad Mossadegh became prime minister. His mission was to take back control of Iran's oil from foreign powers, specifically the British. Determined to nationalize the oil industry, Mossadegh wanted Iran's wealth to serve its own people, but Britain fiercely opposed his plan. With help from the CIA, they orchestrated a coup removing Mossadegh and installing Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi as Iran's ruler. The Shah opened Iran's oil fields to American companies, but his rule soon hardened into a police state. He cracked down on political opponents, silenced military leaders, and crushed student activists, anyone who dared to resist. By 1979, the Iranian people had reached their breaking point. Millions of Iranians flooded the streets, igniting a revolution. The Shah forced to fled the country, and in his place, Ayatollah Khomeini rose to power. Do you think the Shah was good for Iran, or did he do more harm than good? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Good. Let me just see. So that was a very brief thing. But anyway, it gives us a bit of backstory, which I think is really important. Okay, Peter Relix here, Peter Holden there. Good afternoon. How you doing, Marty? How you doing? I was 7, but I remember it absolutely. E1 says the Shavak were just as bad as the Everson's regard. Yeah, it was his secret police. Killed thousands, imprisoned tens of thousands. Yeah, he was not a good. This Shav was not a good guy, you know. Mitch Cameron says most are younger than us, Jim, and got any actual education. That's true. John Kopasaki said, "How you doing, my Orthodox brother?" Brian Payton's there. Nice to see you, Brian. Nanda McBride. British history, political history, truth. Yes. Well, this is the thing. And, you know, it's something we do in Europe. We have a keen interest in history because we've been here a while. And I think it's something we need to maybe install more in America to study world history. The problem with the Iranians is, and here's what a guy said to me the other day, one of your members, I shall not mention his name to save embarrassment, but he says, but Jim, the Bible tells us we've got to destroy Amalek. Now, he told the Jews to destroy Amalek. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu and all I was always shouting about, destroy Amalek. Amalek's referring to the people in the Palestine, the Holy Land, the land of Canaan. The Persians are nothing to do with the Palestinians. The Persians are not even Arabs. They're not a Semitic people. The Jews and the Arabs are a Semitic race of people. Sammy, things went again. Sammy's going to fix that. The Iranians or the Persians have absolutely nothing to do with the people of. Need to tilt it this way, but it's no back on yet, but it could be in a minute. Let me see now if this thing. This is an awful bird there thing, isn't it? It's no on yet. No, not yet. Should come on in a minute. Let's see. Maybe need to fiddle with that wire again. Yeah, bear with us. No sign it. Yep, that's us back on. So just stay handy, Sammy. We're still not. Oh, it's off again. It must be that wire. I'm waiting on Amazon. It's on. I'm waiting on Amazon to deliver a new wire, but they phoned me last night and said, "Oh, we're outside your door." It was 10 o'clock at night. I said, "You kidding? I'm in my house. I don't live there." So we'll see. It's crazy stuff. Yes. So anyway, the Iranians are not Arabs. They're not Arabs. It's nothing to do with the Palestinians. But again, this was a relatively educated man, one of our members, hadn't a clue. And we need to get past that. We need to understand that. Marty says the Houthis, Iran's allies, threaten another trade route to Europe. Of course. But it's a very serious situation what's going on there. Now, this nonsense that the war will be over in a few days, well, I'm sure now you understand that is absolutely nonsense. The Americans and Israelis have hit 5,000 targets, and it's not really slowing up the Iranian missiles at all. What they're doing is they're using their old missiles to deplete the Patriot systems, and already they've took out 3 THAAD systems. But here's something, and by the way, the THAAD systems are $1 billion each, and they're for the warning system and work with the Patriot defense system. So if there's no THAADs, there's no defense system. It's really serious, and I've done that. I'm sure it's been hid from you because we've not been told this in Britain. We're having to go to things like the Hindustan Times. This is an Indian newspaper, which are Hindus. They hate the Muslims, so they're not prone to pro-Muslim propaganda. They hate them. So the Hindustan Times and things like that, you've got to try and get your information from because the West has just got a clamp down on it. Now, here's the reality, folks. That I don't know if you've been told this or you even know it, but the Iranians have managed to hit about 23 bases. 23 bases. Now, 11 of them were purely American bases. The other ones were shared bases, American and the local forces. They've hit 23 of them. The naval base that housed the fifth fleet in Bahrain is completely destroyed. It's gone. It's not there anymore. It's gone. Finito. So any American ships that used to go back to the Bahrain, the 5th Naval headquarters to rearm, can't go there now. They've got to go to Diego Garcia, which is a week there and back. This is a really, really serious situation. This is extraordinarily serious situation because this has not went well, because it wasn't thought out well. It was pushed by Benjamin Netanyahu. America was dragged by the nose into this in a bit of hubris, I believe. And I'm speaking very frankly, my American friends. Hubris got involved here. I think Pete Hegarth and whatnot were a wee bit filled with a hubris and really went into this not particularly well prepared. So, there's been 5,000 strikes, thousands and thousands of tons of high explosive dropped all over Iran, and it's not really made a blind bit of difference because it's a very mountainous country. If you go and look at topography of Iran, it's not like Iraq or Syria. It's not flat. The whole country is a vast mountain range. It really is. It's much worse than Afghanistan. It's a vast mountain. Please do it. Go in and look at Iran's and its geography. The whole place is it's a pile of jagged, ragged mountains. They can hold out for years, these people. And they've been preparing this for decades. They knew this was coming. So they've been preparing for this. And the problem is, the Straits of Hormuz is where the whole world's economy hinges on. They can keep that Straits of Hormuz closed for weeks. Now, here's the thing. In Europe, we keep 2 weeks supply. If you add our emergency supply into that, we have 3 weeks supply of fuel in Europe. That's Britain, Germany, America, France, Belgium, Holland, everywhere. We have 3 weeks max. The Straits of Hormuz have been shut for a week now. We've got another 2 weeks left. And the government's releasing our emergency provisions. These are things we keep in case of a world war. That's being released this week. We've got 2 weeks, and then there's none. The prices of heating oil's trebled. The prices for gas for your cars going through the roof. Heating gas for your house is doubled. The thing, this is right across Europe. This is cataclysmic for Europe anyway. But in another week's time, it doesn't matter what price is on the petrol pumps. There won't be any. It doesn't matter. If it's $1,000 a gallon, it makes no difference. You can't get it. So that's where we are with this. And all the Iranians need to do is keep the Straits of Hormuz closed. And it's not a military thing. Because, again, capitalism is great, but capitalism can also be a problem. Why are the ships not moving? Because Lloyd's of London, the biggest insurance on the planet, have said anybody who goes near it, their insurance is cancelled. So none of these tankers have got insurance, and many of these tankers are carrying liquefied gas, LPG, liquid gas, you know. So they're like gigantic bombs floating in the water. So they've cancelled all insurance. So anybody who's out there or going near there has no insurance. So they only need to make a vague threat. They only need to fire one wee missile. The insurance isn't getting back on. Nobody can sail these ships without insurance. It's a real mess. It's a big mess. It's a serious, serious problem. So, John says, I would seriously disagree with your analysis. It was planned months in advance. Well, if it was that well planned, why is it not over, John? Why is it still going on? And it's nowhere near finished. This was maybe over in a few days. Remember, we were told that a few days. And then we were told, remember, there's a lot of lies being told here. We were told we have to make sure we destroy their nuclear facilities. Well, Donald Trump did a press conference in June, July, and he said that their nuclear facilities are completely and absolutely annihilated, completely and absolutely obliterated. And anybody who says different is giving you fake news. So what is it? Were we lying in June and July or lying now? What is it? There's no joined up thinking here. There's no joined up thinking here. So I take your point, John, but I disagree with you. I don't think it was very well planned at all. I think they thought after 5 days of intensive bombing, the whole thing would collapse. They've been training for this for 20 years. So we should things away again, Sammy. So we shall see as time goes on. But let me just show you some things. Ewan Egerstrom says, if the USA couldn't beat the Taliban, who didn't even have tanks and drones or missiles, what chance are they doing in the Iran war? Well, they cannot defeat Iran. They can bomb it into the Stone Age, but they can't beat it. There's no way of beating this mob because how can you? There's 92 million of them. That's still not on. Might go on again. Maybe need to sugar the wire. This is getting crazy, this thing. We thought we'd fixed it the other day. We had new things. We had new software put in, but it's obviously not fixed it. I think it's the port in the computer that's problematic. No, still not fixed. No. Pull it out again, put it back in. We'll see. Roger, there's no tankers moving through the Straits. There's none. Nothing's moving through the Straits. There's odd wee boats and ones that the Iranians are allowing through, i.e. anybody who's not friendly with Britain or America. They're getting through. Chinese stuff's getting through. Yep. Indian stuff's getting through. Nothing else. That's the only traffic is moving there, sadly. So there we are. But anyway, here's a wee film here that maybe explain it a bit better. This guy's very, very clever. I've watched him on other things years and years ago, and he was very good. He predicted Trump's victory. He predicted the fall of the Clintons, and he's predicted a lot of stuff. And he's very smart. He's a professor. He's Chinese, so you've got to watch his accent. It's worse than mine. But have a look at this fella. This may explain a few things because there's a lot deeper than you think. It's not just about weapons, it's about food. Nothing grows in Arabia. Nothing grows in the whole Arab Peninsula. Nothing. 90-something, 98% of the food comes from through the Straits of Hormuz and ain't getting any food. And there's no water. And if the Iranians hit the desalination plants, it's all over. Have a look. That's me. Wait a minute, that's the wrong one. It's this one. How do you do this?
You will know how this war develops just based on geography, okay? So this is a map. And this map, even if you don't really know the war, even if you don't know the participants, even if you don't know the weaponry, this map will tell you exactly how this war will progress. All right, so some certain things to keep in mind about this map. This is what we call this area, okay, really small, it's 33 kilometers wide, okay? People can swim across it. It's really, really narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Hormuz, all right? And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes to Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area. China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%. Prime Minister Takaichi of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we will run out of oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? So we can expect that the entire global economy will suffer greatly over the next few months. All right, so that's point number one. Point number two is, okay, so the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right? The idea of the petrodollar is this. The US dollar is worth nothing. It's only valuable if people want it. But the GCC says that if you want oil from us, you have to pay us in US dollars. Okay? Then that is the basis of the value of the US dollar. So, if the GCC collapses, the American economy and the American empire both collapse at the same time. The problem, though, is that GCC is an artificial construct of empire. It does not exist naturally. Why? Because there's no food, there's no oil, no water. Okay, guys? No food, no water. So these cities are able to grow in the millions because of all these petrodollars flowing in. If you close off the Strait of Hormuz, there's no food coming in, right? They're all going to starve. How much food does the GCC get from overseas? 80%. 80% of all the food it consumes comes from overseas, that it imports. It does not grow by itself, it imports. All right? So the Strait of Hormuz is really key. And again, the Iranians will close it in order to strangle the global economy and therefore bankrupt the American empire. All right. Second thing you will notice is these mountains. These mountains is what we call Iran. All right, this is Iran. This is GCC. Okay, this is not a fair matchup, right? Because these are mountains. And what can you do in mountains? Well, you can hide rocket bases. You can hide drone bases. You can hide missiles. And that's the entire Iranian offensive strategy. All right? From here, they can hide missiles and drones from which to attack the GCC. And what are they attacking? They're attacking three things, right? They're attacking American military bases. American military bases. That's number one. Okay? Is it possible for the Americans to defend against these attacks? The answer is no. They're not, it's not. It's the silliest thing in the world. You have all these bases in the Middle East, but you cannot defend them against the Iranians. That's kind of strange. Okay, but that's number one. Number two is oil and energy. How hard is it to blow up an oil field with a drone? Not hard at all. Can you defend these oil fields? No, you cannot. All right? Number three, and this is most important, is water. Okay? You guys don't know this, but the GCC has little access to fresh water. So the only way that it can produce water is what we call desalination plants, okay? These factories that take salt water and then through an electrochemical process, turn it into fresh water for the population to use. 60% of the water supply in HEC comes from desalination plants, okay? 60%. Is it hard to blow up a desalination plant using a drone? The answer is, it's very easy. You understand? Okay? So you have this absurd situation where Iran is a mountain fortress where it can hide its offensive capacity, and the GCC, it's just this desert, this flat desert, and it is exposed to attack, and there's nothing it can do about it. Okay? So at any point in this war, the Iranians can choose to just destroy the entire GCC, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Okay? But Iran also has a weakness, okay? And this is fundamental. So Iran also has a water problem, okay? So for the longest time, they suffered a drought issue. Okay, just climate change. And so what the plan of the Israelis and Americans is destroy the water supply of the Iranians. Because the fortress, it is a mountain fortress, but it can also be a mountain prison as well, where people are trapped inside with no access to water. Okay, so what we're going to see right now, we're already seeing attacks on civilian infrastructure, hospitals. In the future, you'll see attacks on water supply, on dams, on reservoirs, on power plants. The point, the idea is to make Iran so inhabitable that the people will have to rebel against the people, or there'll be a refugee crisis in Iran. Okay? So as you can see from this map, this war, it is the end of the world. Okay? Both sides have the potential to destroy each other. And it's really a question of how far do they want to go. All right? We can also say this is almost a game of chicken. Okay? We can blow each other up. How far do you want to go? And the problem is this. The problem is that the Iranians are Shia, which believes in martyrdom. And you've killed the religious leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. So they're willing to go very, very far. The GCC countries are Muslim, but they're materialistic. They love money. And also, most of the population are expatriates, foreigners. 90% of Dubai are foreigners. Guess what's going to happen if they suffer? They're all going to run away. Okay? So this is not a fair matchup. The big question that people have is, first of all, are the Americans going to use ground troops? Because the only way that you can defeat Iran is by using ground troops, okay? That's a big question we'll look at in the next few weeks. Will America send its army, 500,000, 2 million soldiers to topple the government? Okay, that's question number one. Question number two, nuclear weapons. If you're losing a war, would you choose to use nuclear weapons? Okay, that's another big question that we have, okay? Another big question that we have is who gets involved? Because this situation is so dire that Europe, okay, specifically Germany, France, and Britain are talking about entering this war. And guess what? If that happens, it is possible that Russia and China will also enter this war on the side of the Iranians. This is World War III, okay? Because of the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, because of the importance of the Middle East, everyone has to get involved at some point. And we're going to use game theory to really try to understand what's happening on the ground and where this could lead us. All right. So, again, the key is the GCC. All right. So the game plan is this. You have to destroy the GCC. Why? Because the GCC is the linchpin of the American empire. So what the GCC does is this. It sells oil, and then for US dollars. Where does it put US dollars? It puts US dollars into the American stock market. All right, so this is investments of the UAE, okay, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait into the US financial markets. As you can see, from 2012 up to today, it's been exploding. All right? Because the US financial markets is one of the safest places where you can put your money. The intention is this. The intention is, hey, if I cut off oil and these countries no longer have access to US dollars, they're forced to spend whatever resources they have on protecting themselves, okay? And then guess what happens? The stock market collapses. The stock market collapses. The stock market is the real growth engine of the US economy. The entire US economy collapses with it. All right? There are about maybe 7 companies in America that accounts for about a quarter of stock market growth. Okay? These 7 companies, of course, are AI companies. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Apple. Okay? These are the companies. And then these companies are heavily invested in by the GCC nations. So if these nations are no longer able to invest in the stock market, these companies will collapse in value. And with that, that would lead to economic depression in America. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so that is the situation for today. Today was just an overview, guys, okay? I know we covered a lot. I know there's a lot to take in. But over the next few weeks, we will explore each issue in depth and really understand what's really going on.
So very interesting, wee man, and he's right. The problem with this, and I don't think people are giving a lot of depth to the thought of this. We've got the Arabs in a really good position. The Arabs bring in trillions every year from oil. They get to keep a few 100 million, they get to keep a few trillion. But basically, all Arab money goes into our stock markets. They don't get to keep that money. It's an imperialist thing, but Britain and America have been doing it for years. We basically force them to invest all those petrodollar trillions every year in our markets. Not just America, but in Britain and in Europe. That's it. They don't get all the money that they make from their oil. It comes into our economy. So, the wee man's quite right. The wee Chinese man's quite right. If Iran can mess up the Arabian Peninsula, all the countries, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and all these other countries, if they can mess their economies up, the petrodollar's in real crisis, real danger. So this war will be won or lost in the stock markets of the world, not on the field. And I don't think there's any possibility Americans putting ground troops there. The country is a fortress with the mountains. It'd be a disaster. The casualties would make Vietnam look like a vicar's picnic. I don't think even Hegarth is as crazy as that. No way are they going to put a lot of ground troops in. But there's other things we need to consider. I mean, these people, we get confused between the mad ISIS loon balls, that's the Sunnis, and these Persian Shia. They're different people. The Sunnis could never dream of hitting 21 military bases, 11 of them American. Could never dream it. Could ISIS even dream about taking out the 5th Fleet base in Bahrain? Of course they couldn't. These people have done it. Now, a week ago, most people in Europe and in America were saying, this will be easy. Walk over. We'll just bomb them and that'll be the end of them. Kill all their leaders and that'll be the end of Iran. Well, it's not happened. They've hit 11 American bases and 12 joint bases. Now, it's got to the stage now where people are fleeing these countries like Doha, these places like Doha and Dubai. People are fleeing. 90% of the people in these countries are foreigners. They're all saying, we don't want to be here anymore. We're off. But all flights are stopped from Europe. You can't get out. But American contractors who are now being put, because the bases were hit in Iraq, a lot of bases were hit in Iraq that's not appearing on our TV. A lot of those contractors, you're talking about tens of thousands of them, have been moved to hotels in big cities all around about the region. Now, some of the Iranian proxies are hitting the hotels. So now the contractors are down in tools and saying, we're going home. We want to go home immediately. So there's a lot more complicated stuff into this than we think. There is no doubt about it that, America's bombing it heavily, but it's not over. Now, Trump did say it'd be over in about 5 days. Now he's saying maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a few weeks. What is over? And this is a conversation I had with one of your very good brothers yesterday in America, and he says, well, what's your alternative? I said, I don't know the alternative, but I know this won't work. Did it work in Iraq? No. Did it work in Vietnam? No. Who now runs Vietnam? Communists. Did it work in Iraq? No. Who runs Iraq now? Mad, crazy jihadists. Did it work in Syria? No. We've now got the head of ISIS now running Syria. Did it work in Libya? We got Eddie Gaddafi? No. We've got 3 jihadis now, warlords running that country. Did it work in Afghanistan? No. Now we've got the Taliban in control of that country. It's never worked before. So why on earth would it work with the strongest Muslim nation on the planet militarily? Why would it work with them? Why? The level of unthinking in this is staggering, and I cannot understand why people don't see this. If it's never worked before with these tin pot, camel jockey cowboys who are easy beat, why would it work with this lot? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So anyway, I said, well, what do you suggest? And this guy said, we need to destroy them. How do you destroy 93 million people? Are you mad? How can you destroy? Well, you can't physically kill 93 million people. If we, the West, I'll include Britain into this because we're up to our necks in it as well, even though we pretend we're not. The MI5, MI6 are up to their neck in it, so the SAS. If we take out their water plants, and they are suffering a drought already, if we take out Iranian water and we make that country a refugee crisis, there's 93 million people here. This is much bigger than any of the other countries we've went to war with before. Potentially, we could be talking about 10 or 20 million Iranians flooding into Europe. How do you think that will go? I mean, what do you do if there's no water? You have to leave. It'll destabilize the entire region and nothing will go back to normal. This is where we're at here. This is not some wee silly war. I know it's very difficult to imagine this when you're sitting in Texas or you're sitting in Florida or you're sitting in British Columbia and Canada, whatever. It's very hard to understand. But this is really, really serious, folks. This is really serious. This is on a par way. I think the last time America faced a threat this size through a war, it's worse. It's maybe worse than Vietnam because Vietnam didn't have any levers to work economic power. Iran has the power and the capabilities to destroy our Western economies. Simple as that. Nobody's ever had that power before. That's why we've always trod very carefully in the Middle East. This is serious, very, very serious, and it won't be over in a few weeks. And the fallout for this could last for years. So that's where we are. So that's why we're trying to be honest, because I don't think this analysis is right. It is absolutely right. And anybody who sits down in a quiet room with a pen and paper and looks at the economic thing and the geopolitical thing, and we're not even talking about China getting involved yet. We're not even talking about Russia getting involved in, which they both would if they think Iran's going to be completely annihilated. They will. Make no mistake about it. They're not going to sit there and just allow the West to take over everything and deprive them of their oil supply, which they rely on to build their economies. That's not going to happen. They're not going to do that. We wouldn't do it. If somebody was threatening the oil supply of America, to strangle America, to put America back in the Stone Age, America would launch nukes. They would do it, whatever they had to do to survive, and rightly so, and so would Britain. But so will China, and so will Russia. And that's the reality. So we'll see where this goes. My personal prediction, well, first of all, I'll give you one other wee tip that we picked up recently. There's two special planes in America. There's a plane, I can't remember the name. I had the technical name, but I was rushing the day, so I don't have the name. It's a very special plane, and it delivers tactical nuclear weapons. And it works in conjunction with a smaller plane, which is an AI plane. It's unmanned, and it's the sort of brain, the command center for this tactical nuclear bomber plane. Two of them, the big plane and the small plane, flew in. See you later, William. They flew into England 2 days ago. And yesterday they left. They left one of the American air bases in England yesterday for the Middle East. Now, these planes have no other purpose. They have got no other utility other than delivering a battlefield tactical nuclear weapon. They don't have any other purpose. That's all they do. So those, I'm not saying they're going to get used. I'm not saying that at all. But there is no other purpose for them. And those planes, those two planes, that weapon system pair of planes left one of the airfields in England yesterday, bound for the Middle East. So I don't know what that's about, but let's pray that doesn't happen. But my prediction is in the next week or so, President Trump will declare victory and that'll all stop. Whatever. But I think that's where we're going, because I think this has been very ill thought out. I don't care how clever Hegarth says he is and how clever Donald Trump says he is. There is nobody who studies these things at any level thinks this is clever. And I mean nobody. Hardcore right-wing people, hardcore Trump supporters, hardcore Republicans who are experiencing this, understand it, and have studied it. Nobody thinks this is a very good idea, and nobody thinks this is going to have a very good outcome. It's the way it is. It's just a unique place in the world, which makes conflict extremely costly and potentially lethal for our economies. And, you know, the bottom line is we live in such a small world now. All our economies are interjoined and they can cause chaos. So that's where we are. I mean, Ken Wood there was saying he's paying $6 or something for a gallon of gas for the car. We're up to $16, $17 and rising fast. Now, Ken, what do you pay? You're in Texas, you maybe don't know, but I know you pay very little for your heating oil. You know, what do you call it in America? Kerosene for your boilers in your house to heat your house. Well, we're paying now almost £2 a litre, which is almost £10 a gallon for our heating oil. I think you only pay a few cents for it. That's where we are right now. So you might be all right in America for a while, but in Europe we won't be all right. We're not all right now. No, Roger, it's no B-52. No. They've got other uses. You can use them for other things. B-52s are general purpose bombers. No, this is a very specific weapon. I've got it down here somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's a very specific warplane, a system. There's a big plane and a small plane, and it's very specific. It's only for tactical nuclear weapons. It's never really been deployed before, but you've got them. America's got them. They've got everything. But they're floating about now, so goodness knows what they're for. They're the British island base in the Middle Ocean now. They used to be to drop 7,000-pound bombs. Oh my goodness, you don't want that. Nukes, I apologize for my terrible typing. John, I'm the same. I've got fingers like sausages. You've got one finger missing with a rattlesnake bite. Don't worry about that. But it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. B-12, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's very expensive. Everyone's getting crazy. But again, this is the Iranians' real strength. It's not the military strength. It's the ability to destabilize the entire Middle East, which all our lives depend on. Because if that petrodollar loses its value, you guys in America are in deep doo-doo, big time. And everybody, like the BRICS companies, like Brazil, like India, like China, like Russia, and now the traitorous EU, they'll all be sitting rubbing their hands. And I don't want to see that. But I do think this was ill thought out, and I think time will tell and time will prove that this was not a great idea at all. There's another serious rumour, story, whatever, doing the rounds, that quite a lot of American, I think it's between 75 and 120 American soldiers, special forces, have actually been captured. Now, I'm hearing that from very serious people, not silly people, not sensationalists on YouTube, because be careful what you ever listen to at YouTube. It's full of nutcases. I'm hearing this from serious people, and that's a backstory that's not been spoken about at the moment. But you won't be able to hide that too long unless a deal can be done and it can be fixed before it actually gets out to the public. There's a lot of stuff happening, and you know, hitting 23 bases and 11 of them American bases to try and tell me that there's 6 casualties. I'll tell you to your face, and I'll tell Donald Trump to his face, that's a lie. That is a barefaced lie. It's not possible. It's impossible. It's not possible. It's ludicrous. They took out the entire 5th Fleet base in Bahrain, for goodness sake. It's gone. That base is finished. They say, oh, we evacuated it beforehand. If you believe that, fine. I don't believe it. So anyway, it's bad. But remember, we are, the Greek tankers might be getting through because they've been allowed to get through because they're not involved. That's the crazy mullahs in Iran have said that. If you're not involved, we'll let your tankers through. If you're involved, you ain't getting your tankers through. So, yeah. It's scary stuff. It's scary stuff. But anyway, this is a dangerous time for us in Europe. It's a dangerous time for you in America. And politically, this is crazy for the is it the midterms, the primary? What do you call them? What do you call in America that's coming up soon? Is it the midterm elections? I'll predict here now, and I'll put my name to it. So if I'm wrong, you can all laugh at me. The Republicans are going to pay a massive, massive price in the midterms, and I mean a serious price in the midterms, because this has annoyed even a lot of the MAGA base, because we were promised no wars. The president that was going to stop the wars, not start them. And here we are with this carry on in Iran. It's craziness. It's craziness. And Iran was no existential threat to America. And a guy said to me yesterday, again, one of your Templars, said, but they were going to make nuclear bombs. Well, we were told in June and July, and anybody who denied that Donald Trump says was a liar, we were told that their nuclear facilities have been completely obliterated, annihilated completely and absolutely. We killed over 200 nuclear scientists in July, June and July. We killed just about all of their intelligentsia who were involved in the nuclear program. They're dead. They were killed in June and July with the strikes between America and Israel. And I think we were involved as well. So there was no imminent threat. Now, even if Iran managed to get a nuclear warhead, okay, let's just say they've got a secret nuclear warhead. How does that affect America? They have no ballistic missiles that could even reach Britain, never mind America. Do you understand? This is how mad this is getting. Now, look, if somebody comes up to you and tells you a blatant lie to back something up that they're doing, that must immediately spark an interest in your mind, thinking, why are they saying that? And I'll tell you, I'll give you a great example. David Attenborough, you know, the British guy who does all the wildlife programs. I remember once when he was trying to prove evolution, this is what he'd done. He brought a Great Dane dog in, and he brought a Chihuahua in. He says, this proves evolution. I thought, that is such a barefaced lie. Therefore, everyone else is telling me must be lies. Because that's not evolution. That's adaptation. They're the same breed. If he'd have brought in, you know, a dog and then some kind of creature that it turned into, maybe so. But a Chihuahua and a Great Dane are still dogs. He used that as an example on television to prove evolution. Now, you know and I know that is complete madness. So when somebody tells you something that is absolute a crock, why are they telling you that? For example, they were just about to make a nuclear bomb. Utter nonsense. No truth in that whatsoever. Oh, they could have attacked America. With what? With what? They don't have any ballistic missiles that could even hit the other side of the Gulf states. They can barely reach Israel. They're nowhere near having a ballistic missile, an intercontinental ballistic missile technology. Nowhere near it. So the nuclear threat was a lie. The ballistic missile threat was a lie. And even if they managed to fire one missile towards America, how easy do you think we'd have took that out? There's all the defense systems between there and you guys. So it's got to fly over all of Europe, the UK, then the Atlantic for 3,000 miles. But I mean, it's just, the whole thing is preposterous. It's, you know, honestly, it's craziness to even, it's an insult to one's intelligence to even peddle this nonsense. So there we are, but peddle it they have. And again, I'm going to say that I don't think there'll be another election in America. I think the next election is going to be called off. And I think this is part of that process of conditioning certain people for that eventuality. I might be wrong. You might be saying, Jim's went mad. No, listen, I can see what's happening here because we've seen it in Europe many, many times over, the pattern. And I think the next election will be called off. Now, if you're a constitutionalist, you should be up my arms. If you're not, and you maybe take my view is actually a fascist view. I personally think it wouldn't be a bad idea if the next election was called off, because I think America needs at least 10 to 15 years to get rid of all the left, the woke, the communists, the scum, the perverts, the LGBT crowd, the Epstein crowd. All of them people need to go. And I think it would take any American 10 to 15 years to do that. I just wish we could do it in this country. But it's not going to be pretty. And I've often said this, getting in place a dictatorship. Okay, we need a dictatorship in the West. We need one in Britain. We need one in America for a while. But that ain't necessarily pretty either. But I would rather be bossed about and bullied about by a right-wing dictator than a communist dictator. Call me old-fashioned. So I'm not against Donald Trump. I am not against Peter Hesgaard. I'm not against the administration. But what I'm saying is, Open your eyes and see where we're going with all this, because it ain't what you think. I'm telling you now, it ain't what you think. But we just have to persevere. We will be loyal to the death. We are right-wing, conservative, Republican people in the Templars. That's who we are. We don't have Democrats. We don't have libtards. We don't have liberals. But neither do we have morons. We are thinking people. We're people with brains and the ability to think for ourselves and to analyse things for themselves, and not just to be led by the nose and bar like a sheep. No, that's not us. That's not us. So we will talk about these things, and we will try and point out things that maybe you haven't looked at. But if you haven't looked at it, I suggest you do so. But there is, sadly, there is a core of people who are so blind, like they don't know the Iranians aren't Arabs. They think the Iranians have been the people launching all these terror attacks all across the world, when it's nothing to do with them at all. It's, I mean, there's a lot of terrorist attacks through the Houthis and through Hezbollah, but that's aimed at Israel. It's nothing to do with us. They're no affecting Europe in any way, shape, or form, or America, the homeland. But some people don't understand that. And if you can't understand these basic, simple things, it's worrying. And remember, as Templar people look to us for explanations, look to us for an opinion. We don't necessarily they don't need to take our opinion, but they look to us to be at least educated on the subject. And when somebody thinks the Iranians are the sons of Amalek, that's terrifying. You know, the Iranians are not Arabs. They have been a civilization unbroken for 4,000 years, my friend. 4,000 years. Neither the Egyptians, Alexander the Great, or the Romans, or the Mongols, or the Mughal Muslim empires actually managed to conquer them. Nobody's managed to conquer them in 4,000 years, same with the Vietnamese. So why we think we can do it, I don't know. But again, it didn't work well for us in Vietnam. It didn't work well for us in Iraq. It didn't work well for us in Afghanistan. It didn't work well for us in Syria. It didn't work well for us in Libya. Or it didn't work well for us in Somalia. Why we think we can do it now, I don't know. But anyway, we'll wait and see. Yeah, John Kopasaki says the Greeks fought the Persians for centuries. Absolutely, they're right. Listen, I am no sympathizer of the Persians whatsoever, any way, shape, or form. But they're not Arabs. Arabs are useless. Arabs are camel jockeys. All right, let's be blunt about it. These Persians they're a different class of people. And as John Kopasaki rightly says, the Greeks fought them for centuries. Everybody's fought them. Everybody's fought the Persian Empire. Remember, they come into the Holy Land. They come into Palestine. They're no stupid people, and they've survived all these years, and I think they're going to survive some more years. But why are these crazy things happening? Well, I think this woman, I didn't know this woman had been about Donald Trump for over 10 years, and she's the head of the White House's spiritual thing. You know who I'm talking about, this Paula White. She is Trump's spiritual advisor. She is talking in the White House, in the Oval Office, about biblical revelation and Armageddon. This woman wouldn't know a Bible if somebody smacked her in the face with it. And it would give me great pleasure. No, this one, the big pulpit Bible, the giant one, to smack her right in the face with it and then beat her to death with it if necessary. Because I think this woman is going to do more damage to the United States of America and my friends who I love America. I love my American friends. This hideous witch is going to do more damage to the United States of America and the rest of the world than you could ever imagine. And here she is in her full glory before we finish up. So come back.
Mahanda rabosoko, mahanda akasata, reke yamanda raboko sokota, ronda yakande eke seke la mama manda rabakase, meta rabakande la babakaso, yalamanani anano, sakayato yakande, yamakado yabatadia city akano yakatara city. Power!
Power. This woman is Donald Trump's personal spiritual advisor. She's been with him for 10 years. She needs to be put in bedlam. She needs to be put in an asylum. She start raving mad. Now I've got other footage here doing all that stuff on stage and saying, I ain't praying for anybody. I'm not laying hand on anybody unless you give me money. Give me money now. This woman is a cheap chiseler. She's a con artist. She is a snake oil saleswoman. She's a vile, Sammy, she's a vile beast, a creature. Why is the likes of that woman of her caliber and low morality, why is she even near the president of the United States? Why is she even near Donald Trump? Why is she even in the same room as Donald Trump? Why is she in your Capitol building? Why is she in your Oval Office? And you wonder why the rest of the world is scratching their heads saying, we don't like this, we don't like where this is going. Because a woman like that shouldn't even be allowed in your front parlour. I mean, in the echelons of power, the most powerful man on the planet, Donald Trump, she's in his office. If she was in this office, I would set that dog on her. Jezebel's not a word for it. She's a witch, but she has got the ear of Donald Trump. She's like in his ear every day. Goodness sake, it's terrifying. And she's got influenced all those other people. This is not good. And the other day, they were all praying over Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Did you notice there was not one single Catholic priest there? There was not one single Orthodox person there. There was not one single Calvinist there. They were all like wacko evangelifish lunatics. There was no Roman Catholic priest there. And it should have been a bishop or a cardinal like that. There was no Calvinist there at all, Reformed people like me, none. There was no Orthodox people there, Greek or Rome or Russian, whatever you want. There was no Orthodox people there. It was all a bunch of whacked out, not all of them, but nearly all of them were whacked out, evangelical, Pentecostal, charismatic, crackpots who all want to see Armageddon so that Israel can have the temple rebuilt and Jesus can come back and sacrifice their heifers again. These people actually believe that. They're off their heads. They're lunatics. So that's what I believe. I don't believe Donald Trump has done anything particularly stupid here. Well, it is. I think it's deeply stupid, but I don't think he was behind it. I don't think Donald Trump's behind this. He's a shrewd businessman, but he's deferred to other people and things like this, and I think he's been very poorly served. That's what I think. Anyway, yep. Scumbags, no half. He is surrounded by scumbags, Mitch, you're right. And I'm worried about Donald Trump because they seem to be multiplying around him. Well, I'm going to leave you today with one of my favourite songs. And there's a wee boy used to sing it and march about with my wee BB gun over my shoulder. Because we ain't, and I'm not. Somebody said to me, Jim, I think you're anti-American. And I said to the guy, you're lucky you're not standing in front of me. If you were standing in front of me, you wouldn't say that twice. I'm no anti-American. I don't even know where my Ulster Scot stops and my American begins and vice versa. I'm an Ulster Scot. Americans are my people. Blood. Not just some kind of thing that the English have got, some kind of political alliance. No, I've got a blood link with the people in America. I'm proud of America. I'm proud of the people. That's why I'm so passionate about this. But time will tell. But in the meantime, all we can do is pray for our servicemen and women. Because it makes no difference what the politicians decide. It's our boys and girls that carry the can. It's our boys and girls that get killed, wounded, traumatized. So pray for the service personnel who are currently in that war. Whether the war's good, bad, and different, that's not our business. We need to pray for our boys and girls who are wearing the uniform and wearing the cap badges of the American regiments and battalions who are actually risking their life for all this lunacy. That's who really matters, and that's who matters to me. So with that said, I'm going to leave you with this great American war song. And I think Mr. Griffin's here tomorrow. I'll be back with you on Thursday. The good Lord preserves me, and we've not all been nuked. So we shall see. But God bless you all. And remember, stick close to God. You won't go far wrong. Deus Volt.
You will find us.